Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm looking at Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals and determining whether or not Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. But before getting into that topic, question for those of you viewing: who is the one offensive lineman in Cincinnati Bengals franchise history to make the Hall of Fame? Seems like a weird question, but he's one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history in general, and just not in Bengals history. So if you know the answer, comment it below. If you do not, I will reveal the answer at the end. But looking at Joe Burrow this past year, was kind of on pace to win Rookie of the Year before his injury. It would have been tough between him and Justin Herbert in the end if Joe Burrow stayed healthy. But what ifs about it, doesn't matter. Looking at this year, looking at top 10 quarterbacks, you have some lock-ins that no matter what you want to say, no matter how big of a critic you are, these guys have to make your top 10 quarterbacks, and they are Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady. Yes, he's 43 years old, but you can't tell me he's not one of the top 10 quarterbacks you wouldn't want on your team. Russell Wilson, and of course, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, long-term, I'm not truly invested in him, but today he's definitely a top 10 quarterback. So doesn't matter the order 1 through 7. There's no way those guys aren't in your top 10 quarterbacks, and that's 7 of the 10 right there. Like I said, doesn't matter, but they are complete lock-ins. Just a quick repeat: Allen, Mahomes, Rodgers, Jackson, Watson, Brady, Wilson. 7 right there of the 10. So Burrow's got to fit in 8 through 10, 8, 9, or 10 if he wants to make the top 10. And of course, there's bottom of the pack quarterbacks such as Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. I think Jalen Hurts could maybe turn out to be a great quarterback right now. Don't even want to talk about it though. Alex Smith, Trubisky, Goff, Minshew, Bridgewater, so on and so forth. Middle of the pack is where it gets tough. Your Kirk Cousins, your Dak Prescott, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, Big Ben. Drew Brees I'm not including in this list because he's going to more than likely retire. But like I said, middle of the pack guys along with Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. All those guys are really, just depends who you ask is going to make that top 10. To me, I'm a big Justin Herbert fan, and right now I would put Herbert over Joe Burrow. Not necessarily saying Herbert would make my top 10, but that is just one of the guys I would definitely bump him. I would take Dak Prescott over Joe Burrow. I would take Matt Stafford over Joe Burrow. Matt Ryan, I would probably take Joe Burrow over Matt Ryan. Kirk Cousins, I'm a big fan of Kirk, but long term I would go Joe Burrow over Kirk Cousins. Kyler Murray, not a huge fan of him. Really, I think he's like a crappier version of Lamar, so I would take Joe Burrow over Kyler Murray. Ryan Tannehill, that is a very tough one. A lot of people like him. I do think he's very undervalued and just really underrated in general across the NFL, but long term I do think Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. I would like to see Ryan Tannehill on a team that doesn't have such a workhorse of a running back. See if he could. I know he's a good passer, but if their priority offense was pass heavy, would he still be able to keep up with it? Yes, he's a good game manager and passing when he needs to, and still has his occasional 3-4 touchdown gains, but could he in a pass heavy offense deal with it? That I am not sure. Carson Wentz, I like Carson Wentz in his MVP year with the Eagles, and I do think if he's that same guy, he's better than Joe Burrow, but based on last year, he's not even close. So just based on last year, I'd probably pick Joe Burrow over Carson Wentz. Derek Carr, he's a mediocre the pack guy. Really, I think I'd take Joe Burrow over him. So really, only the few people that I have over Joe Burrow are Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford, and really, I'm right on the edge of Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, and probably Carson Wentz. Baker Mayfield, another guy. I'm not a huge fan of Baker in the long run. I'm definitely going to go with Joe Burrow. I do think arguably Joe Burrow within the next year or two could be the best quarterback in his division. Like I said, I like Burrow over Baker Mayfield. I like Burrow over Big Ben today. Big Ben in probably 1 to 2 years will retire. And then Lamar Jackson, I think I would take over Burrow today. But long term, once Lamar's not the fastest guy in the NFL, his run game is going to be taking a step back and is going to be being relied on his arm a lot more, and I don't think he can rely on it as much as he think he can, so I would take Burrow over him long term. Right now, like I said, those 7 lock-ins, and then 8, 9, and 10, not in no specific order, but I would take Prescott, that's 1, Herbert, that's 2, Matt Stafford, that's 3, over Joe Burrow, and then Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, and Ryan Tannehill are all debatable. I think I'd probably take a couple of those guys over Burrow. It'd be close, but overall I don't have him making the top 10 right now just because we only saw a limited amount of him, only 10 games I believe, and really you have to assume You're assuming Joe Burrow will come back 100% and still have that Rookie of the Year talent, still be the same guy he is, and possibly make a comeback Player of the Year case. However, ACL is a tough injury. Not everyone rebounds back from it like it's nothing. Joe Burrow, we're assuming will be 100% from it, but there is a certain chance that this is just a trend of him being injury prone, or he's never the same with a bad knee and that ACL. I'm not sure. Carson Wentz, even though this past year is a bad example, he still has his talent after tearing his ACL. It didn't, even though he's injury prone in general, I don't think the ACL injury affected his game completely. Overall, I assume Joe Burrow is probably a top 12 quarterback, but top 10 is too close to cut it for me right now. Like I said, I take Herbert over him. I take Prescott over him. Tannehill, I might. Matt Ryan, I might. Matt Stafford, I might. But really, it's a lot of close calls. And really, no matter how bullish you are on Joe Burrow, I just don't see him making the top 10 list yet. Just because of those 7 lock-ins being so not debatable, in my opinion, and Joe Burrow having to fit in like a last three, the 10 spot. That's a really tough spot and tight spot. I just don't see it happening. I think in the future, maybe even 1 year, after a sophomore year in the NFL, just getting 1 more year under the ropes, under his belt, I think you can maybe make that jump. But right now, we just haven't seen enough from him. There's too much talent in the NFL right now. Maybe some of these old guys retire. Big Ben, like I said, we're just assuming Drew Brees will. Tom Brady, I think, will eventually retire. I've been saying he'll retire the past few years. It's still not happening, but I want to say he will within the next 2-3 years. But who knows? Aaron Rodgers might eventually retire. Matt Ryan might eventually retire. So 2, 3, 4 years, he would definitely be a top 10 quarterback on the current pace he is. And even next year, he has the possibility to make the jump. But as of right now, I think it's way too close to call and say Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback. I think he'll probably finish last in the division in the AFC North again. Not to discredit him. Like I said, he's one of the top quarterbacks within his own division. Just the team around him cannot compete with the electric Baltimore Ravens, the top 5 defense Steelers, and one of the best offensive line in the Browns and one of the best backfields in the Browns, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Baker Mayfield. Like I said, I like Burrow over him, but Baker Mayfield's still a viable quarterback. And I think that team is just too much for Burrow to take on right now. Like I said, overall consensus and summary, top 10 quarterback, not just yet. Next year, he can make the jump at the bare minimum. I think he'll be there in 2 to 3 years. Right now, I have him somewhere in top 12 to top 15 mark of the quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Where do you have Joe Burrow on your rankings right now today? Consider the ACL injury. That is definitely a factor. But like I said, let me know down below. For the question of those of you viewing, the one offensive lineman from the Bengals in their franchise history to make the Hall of Fame is, of course, Anthony Munoz, one of the best offensive linemen in general in NFL history. Thanks for watching, guys. 2 in the morning.